Hi, my name is Alexis Duco, and today I'm going to be going over some activities that I put together in an on-call binder for a cognitive linguistics class that I'm taking right now for speech-language pathology. So I wanted to start off by talking about why the activities that are in this notebook are culturally appropriate for the population that I'm working with right now. And the population is primarily geriatric patients older than 65. And the reason I've chosen most of these activities is because number one, I've used them in the clinic and I've been able to see the patient response to these, and I think the activities don't make the patients feel like they're babies or they're stupid or they don't know what's going on. They generally enjoy the activities. They kind of find them fun. Sometimes they'll laugh at things because it's funny. The second thing is that I feel like there's items within the activities that they can relate to, that take them back to things that they were doing when they had a job, or things they might have done to help their grandkids or helped their kids. And so they feel like they're working towards increasing their knowledge instead of feeling like they're being taken back to grade school and working forward. And then the third thing I just wanted to kind of add is that a lot of the population I'm working with is educated, right? They're geriatric patients who have had these wonderful lives, and as they're getting older, they've gone to college, they've owned businesses, they've raised kids, like they're intelligent humans, and as they're aging, their mind is changing. And so I think that these activities really help to meet them in that place and just help to keep their mind active at the stage that it's at, without making them feel put down or sick or in an uncomfortable way. And so that's why I feel like the activities that I've chosen are great for this population. So the next thing I want to talk about is some articles, some scholarly articles that I've also included in my on-call notebook to kind of help support families who might have questions about dementia or dementia prevention and things along that line. So the first one I have here is titled Long-Term Treatment with Citicoline and How It Prevents Cognitive Decline and Can Predict Better Quality of Life After the First Ischemic Stroke. So that would be, primarily for stroke patients and someone in long-term care. The second one is called Computer Cognitive-Based Interventions for Preventing Dementia in People with Mild Cognitive Impairments. So this would be an article to maybe share with someone whose mom or dad is kind of in the early confusional stages of dementia. Okay. The third article is Preventing Loss and Independence Through Exercise. This is a piloted clinical trial that was done with older adults who are living with dementia. And so again, this is not as much speech-based, but it is talking about how exercise can prevent the decline and the loss of speech. Number 4 is Healthy Cognitive Aging and Dementia, and this is just a research article outlining the differences between healthy cognitive aging and dementia. And so I think that's an important thing for families to understand and to see. And then number 5 is vitamin D in dementia prevention. And so that just talks about, a study that's been done where vitamin D has been used to try and prevent dementia or the onset of later symptoms of dementia as well. So my binder has 5 main tabs that I'm going to go over, but before I start that, I'm going to review the assessments that I've chosen to include in the notebook. And again, these are assessments that I've actually used at my clinical placement right now, which is at a skilled nursing facility. So the first one is the slums test, and you can see it here, and there's a couple of pages to that. The next one is the RIPA-G. So it's Ross Information Processing Assessment for Geriatrics, and it's a pretty lengthy assessment. The great part about this is that you usually give it as a pre-test before you start interventions, and then a post-test to see how much growth has been made. And it's testing immediate memory, recent, temporal, spatial orientation, general recall of information, naming objects, auditory processing, just a wealth of things there. The next one, if you can see, I don't know, is called the FRAMA J. It stands for function, reasoning, orientation, memory, arithmetic, judgment, and emotional status, mental examination. And the reason this is so important is it's a pretty short test, to be honest with you. Can really administer it in less than 15 minutes. But the score that it gives you correlates with the global dementia scale, which I've also included in my binder here. And this kind of explains, it starts at a scale of 1 and goes all the way to 7, and it explains the different stages of dementia. So 1 is no cognitive issues, 7 is late stages of dementia. And so this is a great way to kind of help families understand where the person that they love is at, and what they can expect to start happening next. And so this is a really great resource. The next is a portion of the alpha that we'd like to give to higher functioning adults. So what it is it's a medicine assessment to see how if they can manage their own medicines. If they're considering going home, this is a if they're considering going home to independent living, this is an important assessment to give. And so I have that here. These are the prescriptions, the prescription schedule where they organize their medications on it. These are the directions and instructions that go along with it. And then the second portion to that is a check writing portion. I think we're getting to it now. Yeah, and so it's a telephone bill, and you ask the patient to write out a check for that, and then to complete a check registry for that check. And I have the check here that they would write, but okay. Then the next test is the MOCA. It's the Montreal Cognitive Assessment, and there's just one page to that I've included, and then I did include the scoring instructions because just a little bit different than what you would expect. Yep. And then I also have some items here in the back that I personally use, but probably wouldn't be used in a cognitive assessment, more of an oral motor assessment. And so I'm going to go ahead and flip to the first divider, which is executive function. And so I'm going to try to quickly go through these. So you can see the first one is a check balancing activity, and it's a check register, and so they have amounts and then they can go through. There's two here, and they're varying levels of difficulty depending how they do on the first one. The second one is problem solving, and so it gives some problems, and then you read those, and there's some options for them to give an answer for that. Hope you can see. And there's a couple of pages to that. Okay, and so this is following one-step directions. Underline the day of the week. Draw a line over the beverage. And so there's a whole page of those. Also one-step directions, but just a little bit harder in difficulty level. So then the next step is two-step directions. That's the next level here. And so it says circle the animal, then underline the piece of furniture. So again, cognitive function activity, 2 of those in varying degrees of difficulty. The next one, is a scheduling, and so basically it has a Mary schedule here with some different times, and then there's a paragraph at the bottom explaining the things that Mary needs to do in order to have her day completed in time to go to lunch with her friends. And so they would fill that out. A similar activity here where you have to organize restaurants based on a description of where they want you to put them. Another kind of scheduling activity, an organization of information activity, where you have to organize a garden correctly based on what things need to be next to each other. Here's another problem-solving task, a little bit different because it's asking questions that make the person consider why something might have to happen. So why does a person need a respirator? Why do you need a car battery? So kind of thinking through some reasoning there. Again, varying levels of difficulty here. This one is again problem solving by asking, you're taking a bus and want to know where it's going, how could you find out? And so just kind of asking the person to problem solve around a little bit more difficult issues there. And then here's the complex problem solving. What are 2 things you'd want to know before you buy a house? What are 2 things you'd want to know before you could attend a concert? And then a final complex task asking advantages and disadvantages to different situations for the person. And then this is finding solutions to multi-factor problems. So just as an example, the first one says, Helen had received 3 annoying phone calls since midnight. Each time she picked up the receiver, she heard only heavy breathing. She asked who it was, but got no answer. Then she told the caller to stop bothering her. It's now 2 a.m. and the phone is ringing. If you were Helen, what could you do to help the problem? So that's a good one. And there's varying levels of difficulty with those again. There's 3 pages of those. Okay, so that's the executive functioning. So now I'm moving on to memory. And it looks like you can't really see my activities very well, so maybe I'll hold up a few here, but mostly I'll just talk about them. The first one is called spaced retrieval, and so I just have some notes here about spaced retrieval and how that works. And so it's basically just a memory tool that we use when we want to make sure that people can remember something. And I did tag this as a severe activity that could be used with someone who's severely declined cognitively. Because really you're asking them first to remember for 10, then 20 seconds, then you're asking it 30 seconds, a minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, and so you can kind of progress, and you could use it to help them remember anything. I mean, even their name or their daughter's name or something as simple as that. The next is naming words with definitions. Again, this is in memory. So this is kind of giving a description, and then the person would name the item. So like the first one, something you use to hold up your pants, the person would want to say belt. Another one, this is kind of giving categories, and you choose the word that fits the clues. So screen, programs, channels, the person's gonna probably say television. There's 3 options, so if the person is like, screens, programs, I have no idea, you could say, well, is it TV, is it the sun, or is it change? So that's the second activity. The next activity, and I have several sheets of these in varying levels of difficulty, is naming words by letter. And so it starts with A and B, and it's giving a description of something, but all 10 of those will start with the letter A. So the first one, part of a body that contains digestive organs and intestines. Of course, that would be abdomen. Now, the A is one of the most complex ones. As you go over a couple of pages, M is a little bit easier. Actually, that's a hard one too. G is a little bit easier. A liquid measure equaling 4 quarts. Be a gallon. And so there's several pages of those. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of those. And there's a naming analogies paper to do from memory. So hot is to coffee as cold is to iced tea. And so then you leave parts of that out and they would fill it in. But you can choose which parts to make it harder or a little bit easier for them. The next one is kind of a convergent naming task. So you're naming related words. So I would say football, baseball, you would say basketball. Again, there's some activities here varying in difficulty level, but the same type of activity. There's one here where you would name carrots, peas, corn, potatoes. They would give you the category, which would obviously be vegetables. So more of those in varying levels of difficulty, ranging from simple to mod complex to complex. So I have about 6 sheets of those in here. Okay, let's see. Okay, the next one is giving someone a category. So I think you can see that because it's kind of bigger. I say sports, you name some sports for me. I say numbers, you tell me some numbers that you can think of. This is the simplest one. And so it ranges all the way up to mod complex and complex. For example, reasons for saving money, things that are against the law, things that you would need a license to do. Those are kind of the more moderately difficult ones, okay? And then here's another naming task that kind of asks the person to do a little bit of problem solving again, but also remembering activities. So what do you need to write a book report? So it asks the person to think back on knowledge and experiences that they've had to tell you what they might need. Okay, and so I have, more than 10 of those in there. I don't know. There's probably 20 or 30 of those activities. The next one is orientation, and the first activity is the second severe activity that I have flagged. And this is a scheduling activity that we do at the nursing home where I work. And what we do is it's just something we put up in their room, and I'm going to show this example of the schedule, but we have a much simpler one that basically says today's date, and then every day we go over that and write it in, and it says you are at, and every day we'll ask where are you, and then we'll write that in, and then it has their CNA's name, their nurse's name, and then events that will be happening throughout the day: speech therapy, physical therapy, occupational therapy, ice cream socials, whatever is happening. And so that's something that you could even do with a severely declining patient. Number one, it's going to help them kind of figure out where their day is at and where it's going. And number two, really, that's just something they can look at for reference. Okay. The next one is asking orientation questions like, does February come before or after October? Does summer come before or after autumn? Do you open a book before or after you read it? So questions like that for the second activity. Here's some more general questions. What are your 5 senses? What are 2 of the world's oceans? These are a little bit more complex. The next is a calendar task. I'll take that out and show it. And it has questions, and all that you need to go along with that is a calendar. I have one printed here. And so then you're just answering questions about the calendar. What month is on the calendar? What day of the week is the 26th? So simple questions like that could be challenging for someone who's having trouble orienting themselves. This is an activity I like to do with patients. This is instructions. Have the person explain to you using directions that you could follow how to arrive at different places in the building. So I have places on here that I would have my patients going to, but you could include, you could change these to anything. So I have the nurse's station, the therapy gym, the courtyard area, Molly's beauty shop, the activity center, the dining room. Where would you go to find new books, and how could you get there? The bath and shower area, so questions about where they're at. Orientation to immediate environment and recent happenings is another handout that I have here. This is a kind of the same thing, a bunch of questions. These are yes or no questions. Are you sleeping? Yes, no. Are you at home? Yes or no. This is my third activity that I have marked for a severe patient, because they're yes or no questions. And so you could even have the person give you a thumbs up or a thumbs down if they're not able to verbally respond. And so I thought that was a good one. The next one is answering temporal orientation questions. So is today Saturday? Is it morning now? Has it been 2 days since you last saw me? And again, yes or no questions, so it could be used with a severe patient just as easily as somebody who can verbally talk to you pretty easily. These are temporal orientation skills again, but they are not yes or no questions. They're open-ended. So what day of the week is it? What month is it? If you were 27 when your first child was born and that child is 40 years old now, how old are you? So things to kind of get them thinking. And so those are my 10 orientation activities. So moving on to attention, I have this marked as my 4th severe activity, and these are, it says things that have mostly a round or a circular shape, and this is marked for attention because I'm saying things and their job is to listen and pay attention and give me a thumbs up or raise their hand when they hear something that is mostly round or circular. And so it's a really good attention activity. A lot of times with people in middle stage dementia, I'll find I get to the end of the first row and they're like, what am I doing? And so it's a really good activity to say, hey, so many words, hey, what are you listening for? And so there are several of these varying in difficulty level, 1, 2, 3, 4 of those. And like I said, they vary in difficulty level. The next would be used for a card sort. So it's really just a page to document how someone does in the card sort. And what we do is we ask them to sort the cards by three things, so, or 3 or 4 things. So we would ask them to maybe sort them by the suit, and then we give them one target. And so we'd say, okay, well, I want you to sort all of the suits, but when you get to the 2s, I want you to put those in a separate pile. And so that's a sheet to record that activity. And so that's really divided attention and also prospective memory tasks, because they have to remember to keep those 2s in a separate pile in the future. All right, the next is a visual selective attention. And so basically what you're doing here is you're looking at the word, and the word is fat, but you want to say what type of font it is. So it's fat font, skinny font. The word is fat, but the font is skinny, you say skinny. The word is skinny, but the font is fat, you say fat. And so those are attention. Let's see, I have 1, 2, 3, 4 of those. And just different levels, varying levels of difficulty again with those. I'm gonna try to hurry and get through here because time is wasting. Okay, these are scrambled sentences, and so it says, joking you must be. And so the person has to say, you must be joking. But they have to pay attention to hear what the words are saying and remember what those words are, and then unscramble them into the correct sentence order. Here's words to put in alphabetical order. Again, attention to detail on this, right? Dog, bee. Which one comes first? Bee, dog. So it starts with 2 words, and it goes all the way up to 5 words for varying difficulty levels. Here's a task for attention, putting things in order from smallest to largest. And then again, scrambled sentences at a little more complex level. So we're now at the final tab, and this is visual spatial activities. And it's funny because I just got a CVA patient today with left side neglect, and so I'm just starting to really use a lot of these activities. And so the first one is a visual screening task, asking you to mark all of a certain letter. And this is important because for someone with left side neglect, they're going to kind of leave this side out and only mark on this side. So you kind of have to do something to draw their attention to this side. So I have 1, 2, 3 of those. Visual spatial, so these are following visual spatial directions. Close your eyes, give me your hand, point to the floor. Simple directions. I have this marked also as my last severe activity for a severe patient, because you could vary these activities to make it something that they could participate in if they were able to move around and understand what you were saying. Close your eyes. You don't have to get out of bed to do that. Give me your hand. Again, you don't have to get out of bed to do that. And so I included those. More following direction activities, but these are kind of out of bed and moving around the room in a spatial way. So, yeah, that's those. And I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of those tasks. So here are some other spatial ones. I don't know if you can see this. Okay, so there's a huge square there, and it says, make 4 dots in the center of the box below. Write the numbers 1 to 5 down the left side of the box. Draw a small triangle on the bottom right corner of the box. So it's these spatial directions that they kind of have to follow that make them think about bottom, top, over, under, beside, next to, over top of. And so I have 1, 2, 3, 4 activities like that, and then it kind of jumps up to a different complexity level where there's, I don't know if you can see, more than one shape, and it's asking you to do different things with the shapes. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4 of those. More spatial directions. These are kind of interacting with text. Put a line through this entire sentence. Circle the shortest word in the sentence. But again, spatial directions that they have to follow. 1, 2, 3 of those. Here's some shapes. And these are asking questions. They're half shaded, right? But for someone who's having visual spatial trouble, this is pretty difficult. These are all wet. So they have to kind of look at those and identify. Again, kind of the same thing, but varying levels of difficulty. 1, 2, I have 4 of those. Here's one that shows some shapes, and your patient is telling how those shapes are alike. Which, if you look at those shapes, it's a complex task. Okay, one of those. Find the figure in each row that's different. So which one of these is not like the other? Visual, spatial again. Another activity asking to choose the one that's not alike. Okay, circle the picture on the right that solves the analogy. So asking them to use visual pictures to spatially figure out an answer. Okay, 1, 2, 3 of those. Okay, and then the last activity that I have is a color copy challenge. And this one's kind of hard to see, but so essentially you color this top however you want to, or you print it at a color printer, and then they're copying it below in the exact way that they see it up here. So this color would match this color would match this color. And so this seems like an easy task for us, but for someone who's having difficulty with attention to visual spatial, that's really hard for them. Okay, here's another color challenge where they can color up here any way that they want and match it at the bottom. Okay, and so that is really the extent of my on-call binder. Thanks.